we are good. So it is 6 o'clock. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Public Services Subcommittee of the Beverly City Council on Monday, March 11th. Calling the roll, we have Ward 2 Councilor Danielle Spang. Here. Ward 3 Councilor Steve Crowley. Here. And myself, Hannah Bowen, Councilor at Large and Chair of the Public Services Committee. I will also call to order Committee of the Whole, since we have more members of the council also in the room. So I would like to just clarify a couple of expectations before we dig into the items on our agenda tonight. And I would remind councilors we're now in control of our muting and unmuting. So we'll be able to move around the room that way. And we have 4 items on our agenda tonight. We have about 45-50 minutes for this meeting, since we have a regularly scheduled 7 p.m. meeting as well. So I'm going to try and keep us on track and get us through all 4 agenda items tonight. This is not a public hearing, though you will see public hearing forms for later ones in our regular meeting. Public comment can be allowed in subcommittee meetings at the discretion of the chair. And although I would like for us to talk tonight about what public comment could look like in a future meeting, I'm not planning to invite public comment this evening, so we'll just be the folks up here weighing in. This meeting is being recorded by BevCam and will be available on their YouTube channel, so thank you for that, and thank you for everyone being in the room, even though we won't be having folks up at the microphone tonight. We always appreciate seeing folks in the room. So yeah, I think I wanted to begin before our first agenda item with also taking a deep breath. I know we have some heavy things ahead of us, and a brief land acknowledgement that we sometimes hear in our meetings, which is just as we gather here tonight, we acknowledge and honor the ancestral and continued connection of the original indigenous inhabitants to this land, the Namkeg and Pawtucket bands of the Massachusetts Tribal Nation. We recognize our obligations to this land, to better environmental care and stewardship, to which the indigenous people who have cared for it have long called us. So our first item is Order 60, reappointments of Charles Rehal, Susan Moran, Paul Lance, and Corey Paulette to serve on the Veterans Advisory Council. We received this one on the 20th, so we're able to act on it. They're reappointments for several people who've been serving well on the council, so I would entertain a motion to recommend we approve the request.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So we'll pass that one. We also have order number 61, which is a reappointment of Robert Pierce to serve on the registrars of voters as the representative of the City Democratic Committee. That was referred the same day, so we're able to act on it. We all heard Robert's voice reminding us of voting recently, and I would entertain a motion to approve that request.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That passes 3-0 as well. And we have one other set of appointments. I'm just looking to see if our new appointee is in the room, and I think not yet. I believe he's going to try and join us later. So we'll hold on to Order 71 until closer to 6:30, 6:45, and see if Mr. Hacker is able to join us. And that brings us to Order 74. So I believe we are on track to have a solid 25-30 minutes of discussion tonight, just to open the conversation. Again, want to just acknowledge how painful and emotional this subject is for all of us in the room, and I know it is a full room for many different reasons, and that I really trust my colleagues and neighbors to be able to participate in difficult conversations with respect, with empathy, honesty, humility, and I would also ask for your patience as we go through the somewhat cumbersome process, but healthy democratic process of how we work as a council, as we try to hear each other and support each other in these somewhat challenging times. And I really see this meeting as just an opening to the conversation, because this is really our first opportunity as counselors to hear from each other and discuss this topic in an open meeting, the way we are required to deliberate about things. So I'm gonna also try and save time at the end to sort of summarize what we're hearing and what some next steps might be. And I have 3 questions I'd like to propose to the council. So I jotted them down because I know we all process things differently and don't want to take anyone without time to process. If you can pass them around to the council, I'll share them. I think we got enough for everybody, maybe one more. So I'll share the questions. Would love to hear from everyone, sort of a first round. We'll presumably each have a few minutes, which I know is not a lot. It's a bit short, but we're trying to balance the urgency of having these conversations with not feeling too rushed in our deliberations, do the best we can. So as you think about these, if you have ideas already, and I'm going to read them out in a second, but if you have ideas already, would love to hear them. If you want to just think some more, please just say that, and we can come back to these at a future meeting. If there are other questions you think we should be tackling, other questions you have about the order as written, please do use some of this time for that as well. So the first question I wanted to put out to everyone and hear from everyone on is just what kind of...
Madam Chair, I think before we go further on this, I do have a couple things. So for me personally, and for me, and as far as this part goes, is I don't feel, as far as the international things and stuff like that, this type of conversation should be had at our level. I think a lot of our dealing should be what's going on within the city right now and what we have to deal with here. So based on that and based on those, I'm making a motion that we go ahead and receive and place this on file.
Okay, so that motion is in order. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, is there further discussion?
Yes, I would like to share that whether you've provided public comment, emailed, called, or met with counselors, we hear you, we've heard you. If you can't reach out because you're working to pay your bills and living month to month, we know you're here. If you're worried whether you can stay in Beverly because rents are rising, property taxes are rising, and you're getting priced out, we hear you. If your heart hurts because not every child in Beverly, let alone the whole world, can take the most basic food, water, and shelter for granted tonight, we hear you. Because of state open meeting law, as Councilor Bowen mentioned, we can't talk amongst ourselves, Councilors Bowen, Crowley, and I, about our work outside of public meetings. So this has been our first chance to talk, and I'm echoing the thought that we should receive this order and place it on file. In my mind, our meetings are more of a streamlined process to reach majority votes and do not facilitate the type of community discussion at this level. But I want to ask that everyone continues to work to ensure that Beverly is a place without fear of mockery, harassment, or violence, and where people are free to embody their whole selves.
Thank you. And I may also comment before we vote on that motion, to just say that the other questions that I wanted to hear from folks on tonight were what kind of process. So, we've heard from Councilor Spang some of what she might like to see. What other important points we each felt as counselors it was important for members of our community to hear from us and to take from our discussion on this topic and our response to the local impacts that we're seeing of the crisis in Gaza and Israel on members of our community, including those in the room here today. And, I also wanted to hear from people about the process of public comment and some more specific items there. For myself, obviously, wanted to have this conversation in a public setting. I feel it is important that we respond to the needs and concerns of our constituents. And I think it's appropriate at times for us to comment on issues beyond simply the appropriations and orders that typically come across our desk. We don't often speak on state, national, and global issues, and generally I think that's good and appropriate. I also believe there are times when it is appropriate and that this is one of them. We've taken actions on broader issues when we felt it was appropriate before. And that didn't open up an overwhelming amount of distraction or division or purely symbolic actions. So I was confident that we might be able to do that again. Some of those have included resolution in 2022 in support of the state legislature's proposed Green Futures Act that passed 4-3 in 2022. Resolution stating a land acknowledgement similar to the one that I read this evening, and making commitments as a group that passed unanimously. A resolution adopting the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism and making commitments as a group that passed unanimously as well. And last year, these are all just within the last term, last year declaring that a retiring fire truck be surplus so that it could be donated to emergency services in Ukraine as a result of the Russia-Ukraine war. So those were, some opportunities that we had in the past that this council chose to take up. And of course, we already did weigh in on this topic of the escalating crisis in Israel and Gaza publicly once before as a group, when we each signed on to a solidarity statement by city leaders on October 16th, in which we said, in part, we join our voices in solidarity with other civic leaders and human rights advocates to unequivocally condemn the senseless, inhumane, and horrific acts of terror committed by Hamas militants against Israel. Without condition, we denounce these barbaric acts with all our might and with the force of our strongest convictions. So while I can't speak for anyone else, and if this motion passes, I can't hear from anyone else, my motivation now is essentially the same as my motivation then, that remaining silent risked leaving members of our community feeling unheard and unseen. Remaining silent then risked leaving members of our community guessing about what we might view as acceptable, what we are willing to ignore, what we are willing to face and discuss, whether we are able to listen to each other. And I do not want anyone to interpret the combination of the statement we made in October and our silence now as meaning that we agree that the level of destruction, civilian deaths, displacement, starvation, and humanitarian crisis currently unfolding in Gaza are justified or acceptable to us. I would like us to say that they are not. And I believe that we can find some way to say that, whether it's in a resolution form, a discussion, a call to action for others in our community, facilitation of dialogue. And that is the spirit in which I brought forward order as a letter inviting that dialogue rather than an up or down vote. Those are my comments. Any other further comments from the committee?
So the only other comment I want to make is, I'm not saying that we not have discussions about this in the community. I think there's some other forums that might be better suited to have these continued discussions as we go through with any discussions that we have in the community. I've always had a feeling of team for the city of Beverly and everything I've run on, meaning together everyone achieves more. So with everybody in this room, everybody watching on TV and whatever it might be, and this council here, is we've done some great things together, and I think we'll continue to do the same things. I just don't think this is the right forum for this. But I'm not saying not to have the conversations. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I know the subcommittee members will be the only ones to vote on this motion that's currently on the floor, but I would invite other members of the council if you have comments at this stage before we move to that vote. Yes, Councilor Sweeney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I am going to read some comments that I typed up to collect my thoughts. There is a lot of overlap between what was said by Councilors Spang and Crowley, and I appreciate, and you as well, Councilor Bowen, for all of you guys speaking up on this topic. So I'll say in the past week or so, I have heard from many members of our community about this proposal, and almost all the folks that who have reached out to me have shared their personal stories, the pain that they've dealt with, and for some, the anger that they felt at the council for introducing this proposed resolution that is beyond the scope of our official responsibilities. And I do want to say that I empathize with those who have reached out to me in this regard. Personally, as Councilor Crowley had said, I'm always willing to meet with any resident individually to discuss my views and listen to their views about a whole range of topics, even if those topics of conversation fall outside of the scope of the official authority of the City Council. Now, that being said, I do not believe that it is appropriate for the City Council to pass formal resolutions regarding matters that are outside of the purview of our authority as local officials, including federal politics and foreign policy. Notwithstanding my views of the content of the proposed resolution itself, which I do have some serious concerns with as it is currently written, I do not believe that the City Council should spend additional time discussing this topic, as it is clearly outside of the scope of work that the residents of Beverly have elected us to address, such as the notable major proposed infrastructure projects that the council will be voting on in the coming few meetings. And additionally, it's worth noting this is a subject matter where there are a range of views among Beverly's residents. And further discussion of this topic, I believe, within the formality of our city council meeting structure, will only yield more negative consequences than positive outcomes. And so that's why I think it would be prudent for the council to, the subcommittee in particular, to adopt the motion that Councilor Crowley has proposed to receive this order and place it on file. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Feldman.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I am very appreciative of everyone that has reached out over the last couple of weeks. I've tried to respond to everyone. I'm not sure if I have, but I do want to say that I agree with what Councilor Sweeney and Councilor Crowley is saying in terms of support of the resolution and where I lie as a city councilor with my voice to be able to be used at this level in national politics. And I don't believe it's under the purview of our city council to weigh in on this. And I don't think it is a productive discussion. I'm a very actions, not words counselor. I've said this for other resolutions as well, where if we're not taking a specific action that I can have some control over, I don't tend to really want to pay things just lip service. I feel like there can be a better use of our resources. However, that being said, there were some people that reached out and some insinuations that my fellow counselors that brought this resolution forward had different intentions or an outside agenda. And I just want to say that I don't believe it's right to go to anyone's motivation in terms of where we can disagree. We can disagree respectfully. And I know this is a very heated and emotional matter, but I can vouch for my colleagues and especially my fellow counselors, President Flowers and Counselor Bowen, in that I know their intentions were nothing but in the spirit of bringing the community together. And so I really would appreciate it if people, when they are directing their comments to us or their remarks or anything public, that they keep that in mind, that we are also humans and we should respect each other enough to give everyone the benefit of the doubt that it's with the best of intentions that they're bringing something forward, because that takes a lot of courage, and I respect their opinion and them bringing this to the table regardless of how you feel about the words that they have put forward instead. So thank you.
Thank you. And I saw Councilor Houser.
Yeah, thank you. I also have some written comments that it repeats a lot of what we've already heard, but I at least want to be on record as to how I view this matter. So I support the motion on the floor to receive and place on file. I have 3 reasons for that position. First, I don't think there is a sufficient connection between this complex foreign affairs matter and what the council can constructively accomplish with this issue locally, at least in this way. This is notwithstanding the fact that the subject has local community impact. Second reason is the council has a clear-cut set of responsibilities under the city charter. and discretionary steps outside of those responsibilities should be taken advisedly. As a city councilor, the personal impulse to display leadership in expressing care for ethical or moral issues or basic human rights can be compelling, but they can also be fraught. It is worth considering that there may be other ways and other venues for engaging in such issues. Standalone city council action is not necessarily the best or constructive way to do that. Third, as was alluded to by Councilor Feldman, as a practical matter, city council positions are part-time. They are filled with demands on our time that can be challenging even when we stay within the clear-cut scope of our responsibilities. And I think as councilors, we must be mindful of our bandwidth to carry them out in a world that's full of issues that we personally may care strongly about. It is not an easy matter to figure out when local leadership calls for taking a position on larger or national matters. The City Council, with the Cahill administration, spoke out and took concrete action following the murder of George Floyd. We learned about and examined implicit bias in others and in ourselves. We funded 2 City Council staff positions to help the city address racial inequities, and we engaged in hard conversations. I assert that those were the right things to do. There is no bright line, however, to decide what issues of great public significance the council should engage in. So while I disagree with the filing of the resolution, I think it came from the same impulse to address a larger and pressing issue, and I appreciate that. So also, while I vote to reject the resolution, I want to be clear, as Council Feldman said, that I support both Council Bowen and Councilor Flowers as fellow colleagues doing a tough job. I think a mistake was made, but it was made in good faith. They did not write a resolution from a place of ill intent or prejudice or desire to divide our community. I don't think they foresaw the pain and divisive impact that it has engendered. And it is my impression that they even differ from each other in some respects concerning the resolution. As the council decides what it will do, both Councilor Bowen and Flowers have my respect for their willingness to serve in the public arena, and if it happens, as it sometimes does, to stand alone in leadership. So disagree with the resolution, I do, but I will support them for their work and their service.
Thank you. Any other? President Flowers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I want to thank the other counselors who have already spoken, and I want to apologize in advance because I don't have a written statement here, so it will not be as eloquent. I also want to say, like Councilor Feldman, my appreciation, well, I guess everyone said it, I don't want to shortchange another counselor, my appreciation for everyone who's reached out, whether it's been at our podium here in a council meeting, or whether it's been by phone, or whether it's been by email, or direct face-to-face conversation because we've seen each other on the street, or you've sought me out to talk with me, or we've seen each other coming and going from our local polling place. I'm appreciative of all of that, and unlike Councilor Feldman, I know I have not yet succeeded in getting back to every email that I've received, and I intend to. So if you have emailed me and you have not yet heard, I just want people to be aware that it comes not from a place of a resistance to conversation, but time. And I am intending to get back to everyone who has reached out. I have great respect for all of my council colleagues who are here and appreciate what I'm hearing, not only from my council colleagues, but from people in our community on every side of this issue. And certainly there are many. And I think that's one of the things that I've been, and I imagine we all have been, reflecting on in even deeper ways perhaps than we already were. And I don't want to speak for anyone, but it strikes me that part of what Councilor Spang said that resonated with me was thinking about children close to home and all around this world, and hoping that children and all people will be safe and well, will be able to feel safe in their homes and with their families, will be able to access food and clean water. And for me, that that's a big part of what motivates and drives me to want to think about, as Councillor Hausman called it, the broad human rights and humanitarian issues. I can recognize and respect what my fellow councillors are saying, that in some ways, our very formal city council public meeting processes fall short of being able to have the kind of interactive, face-to-face conversations that communities need to have when we're talking about important, heavy, raw, in some ways, topics. And so I respect what my fellow councillors have said this evening. I hope that we as a community, and by that I really do mean our whole community here in Beverly, can continue the good work I know we've already begun. Councillor Hausman alluded to some of it. But as a community, I've seen us undertake, thanks to our Human Rights Committee, thanks to local leaders and also community members, undertake some of these difficult conversations to be able to think and talk together about how Beverly can be ever more a place where people feel seen and safe, respected, and heard. And I think it would be foolish for me to say that Beverly is already always that place. I think some of you in this room feel that Beverly is not always that place. I don't know that any community yet is always that place. I hope that even if not within the confines of our city council chambers, we together as a community can continue to have those kinds of conversations. In some of the conversations I've had, it's been evident to me that there's deep feeling, emotion, care, pain, but also much love. And I hope we can find ways to continue talking with each other from that place. Not just about what's happening for those living in Israel and those living in Gaza, but for all of the difficult moments, times we may find ourselves divided and hurting as we go forward on the path. So I apologize for my little bit of rambling. Like I said, I don't have as eloquent a written out speech, but I do appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I appreciate the opportunity to have heard from so many in our community and to be able to listen primarily and to think together and to learn together, which I am doing and will continue to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other comments from councilors? All right, and I think from my side, I just want to echo the thanks again to everyone who has participated in our public process in the way it has worked to date. And I think my deep trust in my colleagues to be thoughtful about any and all issues and to work through a process together to decide what is best for us as a body, in addition to the ways that we can show up with all of you in the community to listen, as was said, to build community, I think to continue to do the work of raising awareness of the risks of anti-Semitism, of anti-Arab, Islamophobic, anti-Israeli, anti-Palestinian, and many other forms of bigotry that still exist in our community. That's one of the big lessons I am taking from this process so far. So I've heard all of the calls for that. And I think with that, I would call for a vote on the motion that is on the floor to recommend that the subcommittee would recommend that the council receive and place on file this order. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes 2-1. And we have time for our final order, number 71. I don't believe our appointee has arrived. He had said he might be able to make it from work, but as Councilor Spang alluded to, our meeting times are not always the easiest to get to or attend. So I would bring us to that order. And it's actually a reappointment of Mr. John Swain to the Waste Reduction Committee and a new appointment of Mr. Ben Hacker to the Waste Reduction Committee. So if Mr. Hacker is able to make it during our break, we may have a chance to speak with him, but sense of the
So-
committee, do you feel like you have enough information to?
I have enough. I know both of the gentlemen very well.
Great.
And what they've done for the city and stuff like that. So I make a motion to approve their appointments.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That recommendation to reappoint and appoint passes 3-0. That is all of the business in front of the subcommittee, and we still have plenty of time to prepare for our regular council meeting. I believe in that case, there are no other next steps on this order from the subcommittee. It just goes back to the council to receive and place on file, or take that action at the council level. So thank you again to everyone who was here tonight and/or reached out after this order was filed and before this order was filed to speak with us. That, again, is always welcome. As President Flowers said, I suspect many of us are in the boat of having not replied to all emails just yet. Doesn't mean we won't get to it. And please, we are here for this reason, so please continue to share with us what you'd like to see us working on. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adjourn the Public Services Committee.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Then we are adjourned.
Thank you.
This one?
Crossline.
All right.
Oh, right. Welcome, everyone. I know some folks are still in the room after joining us for our 6 o'clock meeting, and folks are also coming in. So welcome whether you're still here and you've been with us, or welcome if you're just coming in. Welcome if you're watching on BevCam. Kim has got us rolling in the BevCam booth. Thank you, Kim. As always, we're appreciative to BevCam for making sure our meetings are accessible and available for those who can't be in person with us, or for people to watch at their convenience at other times. Before I officially call this meeting to order, our regular meeting to order, I'll just run through our agenda so that we're all on the same page as to what we have in front of us this evening. We do have 2 comments from residents that we'll take. Our third speaker had a family emergency and is not able to be here. We have 5 public hearings, most of them on routine matters with National Grid, but anyone who is here to speak in one of the posted public hearings, as I said, 4 of the 5 are National Grid related, and 1 is a financial request for a transfer having to do with repairs to one of our fire trucks. If you're here to speak in any of those public hearings, the sign-up sheets are on the desk in front of us. You can come up at any time and add your name to speak on those particular topics. And then we have some routine business to take care of. We'll take a break for some subcommittee work. Be back to finish it all up. So with that, I'll officially call to order this regular meeting of the Beverly City Council, Monday, March 11th, 2024, 7 o'clock p.m. or roundabouts. Ms. Kent, will you please call the roll?
Bowen,
Here.
Crowley,
Here?
Feldman. Here. Hausman,
Here.
Rotundo,
Here.
Spang,
Here.
St. Hilaire,
Here.
Sweeney, and Flowers.
I am here. Thank you, Ms. Kent. I'm going to ask Councilor Bowen if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would invite us all to remain standing for a moment of silence for John Dunn, who is a former Director of Municipal Finance here in our city, and also Robert Monroe, a retired Assistant City Solicitor. Both of them died recently, and I would ask that we would remain standing, keeping their friends and family in our hearts. Councilor Bowen.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Bowen, and thank you all for joining us in that moment of silence, for holding John Dunn's family and Robert Monroe's family in our hearts and our thoughts at this time as they are grieving, remembering, and celebrating those lives. And we are grateful for the service and their commitment to the city of Beverly, too, to this community that we love. With that, I will have us go right to comments from residents. As I mentioned, we had 3 people signed up. I'll remind us all that these are spots that are available at any of our regular posted meetings. You can sign up by contacting the clerk no later than 9:30 the morning of the meeting, although they are first come, first served. So sometimes if all 3 are already filled, the clerk will make you aware of when the next available slot at an upcoming meeting is. Each of these speakers gets up to 5 minutes to address the council. And I often mention, I think it's good just for all of us to be on the same page as to why you won't hear back and forth with these speakers. It's not a time when councilors ask questions or engage back and forth, but it always, I say, it is a time when we're listening, councilors are hearing what folks have to say, and it is extremely important part of our meeting, even if you don't hear us engaged in discussion. You all right, Ms. Kent? At this time. So we'll begin with our first speaker signed up, Justin Friedman. And Mr. Friedman, if you would go to the podium and begin, I know I've just given away your name, but if you begin with your name and address for the record, and then Vice President Crowley is our official timekeeper to make sure that it's fair and equitable to everyone. He'll keep the time for 5 minutes. If you hear his timer go off, if you just draw your remarks to a close. Thank you, Mr. Friedman.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Justin Friedman. I live at 8 Thomas Road in Beverly. First, I'd like to thank the council for the opportunity to address you all again regarding our initiative to construct sidewalks on Cross Lane and Boyle Street. Since my last address to the council back in October of last year, a lot has happened. I'm happy to report that we've had multiple meetings and discussions with council members, specifically council members St. Hilaire, Hausman, Sweeney, and Flowers. They've been extremely helpful and supportive of our efforts, so we thank them for that. I'm also happy to report that we've continued to add to our list of supporters. Most notably, our list now includes signatures from council members Julie Flowers and at-large council members Brendan Sweeney, Hannah Bowen, and as well as board members Scott Hausman and Matt St. Hilaire. Adding your names to a list might seem like a symbolic gesture, but it's more than that. It shows your willingness to stand shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of the constituents in support of our collective goals. It shows that you understand that construction of sidewalks not only enhances accessibility and safety, but also illustrates your commitment to building a community that values inclusivity, health, and sustainability. Beverly is lucky to have you all serving on the City Council. We'd like to encourage other council members to add their names as well. While these projects might not directly impact your awards, it shows that your willingness to support these types of common sense, widely supported projects that improve the overall quality of life in our town. The biggest and most promising development since my last address to the council was the citywide meeting the mayor held on January 9th. As a group, we were very pleased with the information the mayor and his team had to share. While I don't claim to speak for the mayor, it was obvious to us that he is on our side and agrees that these sidewalks are needed. Most importantly, he has an action plan. His team was able to lay out plans and specific financials for adding sidewalks to Cross Lane and Boyle Street, as well as other streets, including Lakeshore Drive. We were very happy to hear that plans are already in motion to add sidewalks to Lakeshore. Pairing this project with Cross Lane would create a continuous walking loop that is much preferred and much safer than having a sidewalk simply end. The mayor and his team understand that investing in sidewalks aligns with their administration's objectives of sustainability, accessibility, and progress. We left this meeting feeling very positive and thankful for Mayor Cahill's hard work. We understand that there is still work to be done and hurdles to overcome, but he clearly listens to us and is committed to helping us, and that means a lot. Now that we have the support of the council and the mayor, we stand ready to help in getting this project going. Specifically, as it relates to the National Grid Regional Reliability Project. Folks in this area are now feeling the full effects of the National Grid project. As anticipated, it's not fun. Repairing the streets with the addition of sidewalks will help to make this all worthwhile in the end. As I stated in my last address, adding sidewalks during this road reconstruction will save taxpayer money and minimize further disruption to these neighborhoods. We can't miss this time-sensitive opportunity. I'm here tonight to tell the council and the mayor that support for these sidewalks has grown and has not faded. We hope that you'll continue to keep this top of mind as you go through your budget process over the next couple of months. As we work together to create a more livable and vibrant community, prioritizing pedestrian infrastructure is a critical step. It demonstrates our commitment to creating a community that is not only aesthetically pleasing, but also functional and safer for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Friedman, for your time, and thanks for being here with us this evening as well. Our second speaker signed up is Paul Hansen-Mitev. And similarly, I would invite you to the podium to begin with your name and address for the record, and should you hear Councilor Crowley's timer, draw your remarks to a close at that point, as that will be the 5-minute mark. Thank you.
Good evening to City Council on this rather sad evening. If I may, I grant you refuge in invocation and prayer. I bless the neighborhood and the minaret to guard them from the rocket, from the moment it is a general's command until it becomes a raid. I grant you and the little ones refuge, the little ones who change the rocket's course before it lands with their smiles. I grant you and the little ones refuge, the little ones now asleep like chicks at rest. They don't walk in their sleep toward dreams. They know death lurks outside the house. Their mother's tears are now doves, following them, trailing behind every coffin. I grant the father refuge, the little one's father who holds the house upright. When it tilts after the bombs, he implores the moment of death. Have mercy, spare me a little while, for their sake I've learned to love my life. Grant them a death as beautiful as they are. I grant you refuge from hurt and death, refuge in the glory of our siege, here in the belly of the whale. Our streets exalt God with every bomb. They pray for the mosques and the houses, and every time the bombing begins in the north, our supplications rise in the south. I grant you refuge from hurt and suffering. In the words of sacred scripture, I shield the oranges from the sting of phosphorus and the shades of cloud from the smog. I grant you refuge in knowing that the dust will clear, and they who fell in love and died together will one day laugh. This is by Hiba Abu Nada, a young poetess from Gaza. Refuge was written on October 10th and is among the last pieces she composed before being martyred by an Israeli airstrike on October 20th. So I was speaking with your fellow counselor about the declaration that racism is a public health issue, and Beverly as a city acknowledges that. May I speak from the last Sunday sermon of Reverend Martin Luther King, given 4 days before his assassination. The hour has come for everybody, for all institutions of the public sector and the private sector, to work to get rid of racism. And now, if we are to do it, we must honestly admit certain things and get rid of certain myths that have constantly been disseminated all over our nation. Somewhere, we must come to see that human progress rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of dedicated individuals who are willing to be co-workers with God. And without this hard work, time itself becomes an ally of the primitive forces of social stagnation. So we must help time and realize that the time is always ripe to do right. We'll be discussing this book called Gaza, An Inquest into Its Martyrdom at the Atomic Cafe, beginning at 2 p.m. on Thursday. Everyone here is welcome to attend. I'll be there beginning at 2 onward until close, and I do want everyone to know they're welcome who's here at this time. And lastly, I presented a document to Councilman Crowley, Spang, and Bowen, and it has 4 articles. Starvation is stalking Gaza's children in the New York Times, Eugenics and Ethnic Cleansing, the Values That Unite the U.S. and Israel in the Palestine Chronicle. Netanyahu appoints Ayelet Shaked, sorry for the mispronunciation, who called for genocide of Palestinians as justice minister in the new government. Has my sound gone up? Can you hear me? Sorry. This was on May 6, 2015, and then lastly, from the Electronic Intifada, Israeli lawmakers call for genocide of Palestinians gets thousands of Facebook likes. 7 July 2014. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson-Miter.
Thank you.
Thank you. As I mentioned, our third speaker who was to be here this evening has a family emergency and was unable to be here. So we'll move at this point because we have about 15 minutes until our first public hearing is posted. To communications from His Honor the Mayor, please, Ms. Kent.
Order number 75, dear Honorable City Council, I respectfully request a transfer of $30,000 from a previously authorized capital project fund, Fund 541, to be placed into a new fund for the purchase of a harbor master vehicle. These funds will be matched by the Harbor Management Authority and will facilitate the purchase of a vehicle to aid in the necessary travel and boat hauling of the department. This transfer request requirement a public hearing be set to prior to a final council vote. Please initiate action at your next city council meeting by scheduling a public hearing. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Kent. Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property, and we'll set that public hearing.
Order number 76, dear Honorable City Council, I am pleased to inform you that the City of Beverly has been awarded a $1,300 grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts MED Project Drug Stewardship Program. This grant funding will be utilized for costs surrounding the management and disposal of unwanted household-generated opiates in the medicine collection receptacle in the Beverly Police Station lobby. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A requires both City Council and Mayor approval before any grant, earmark, donation, or gift to the city can be expended for their prescribed purpose. I therefore request the City Council approve this grant at your upcoming meeting on March 11th. Thank you. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property.
Order number 77, dear Honorable City Council, I am pleased to inform you that the City of Beverly has been awarded an earmark in the amount of $200,000 from the Mass Marketing Partnership with the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development. This earmark funding will be used for the HVAC improvements and weatherization for the Beverly Public Library. The earmark funding is approved in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts budget as follows. Number 7008-116, provided further, not less than $200,000 shall be expended by the City of Beverly for facility upgrades and improvements to the Beverly Public Library. I'd like to thank Senator Joe Lovely and Representative Jerry Paracella for the advocacy and support to obtain this critical funding for much-needed capital improvement at the main branch of the Beverly Public Library. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A requires both City Council and Mayor approval before any grant, earmark, donation, or gift to the city can be expended for their prescribed purpose. I therefore request the City Council approve this earmark. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property.
Order number 78, dear Honorable City Council, I am pleased to inform you that the City of Beverly has been awarded a $100,000 earmark from the Massachusetts Marketing Partnership within the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development to support the HVAC improvements and weatherization for the Beverly Public Library. The earmark funding is approved in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts budget as follows. Number 7008-116 provided further that not less than $100,000 shall be expended by the City of Beverly for greenhouse gas reduction projects. I'd like to thank Senator Joan Lovely and Representative Jerry Paracella for their support to obtain the critical funding for much-needed capital improvements at the main branch of the Beverly Public Library. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A requires both City Council and Mayor approval before any grant, earmark, donation, or gift to the city can be expended for their prescribed purpose. I therefore request the City Council approve this earmark by acting on this matter. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property as well.
Order number 79, dear Honorable City Council, I am pleased to inform you that the City of Beverly has been awarded a $1 million earmark from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development to support the main library HVAC system replacement and weatherization. This funding was made possible by Congress approving grant funding for the Economic Development Initiative, specified for community project funding, congressionally directed spending. I want to extend my sincere thanks to the U.S. Congressman Seth Moulton for his efforts to secure this critical funding for the project. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A requires both City Council and Mayor approval before any grant, earmark, donation, or gift to the city can be expended for their prescribed purpose. I therefore request the City Council approve this earmark. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property.
Order number 80. Dear Honorable City Council, I hereby appoint, subject to review and recommendation, the following residents to serve on the Beverly Cultural Council: Crystal Demain, PhD, Eric S. Roberts, Becky Blizzard, and Lindsay May Barth. Their terms are to be effective until April 30th, 2026. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Please refer that to the Committee on Public Services.
Order number 81, dear Honorable City Council, I hereby reappoint, subject to review and recommendation, Ms. Wendy Pearl, 21 Morningside Drive, and Mr. John Leahy, 12 Canterbrook Lane, Hamilton, to serve on the Beverly Historic District Commission. I respectfully request the City Council also approve the waiver of residency requirement for Mr. Leahy, as he brings much knowledge and enthusiasm to the commission. Their terms are to be effective from April 1st, 2024 until April 1st, 2027. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs.
Order number 82, dear Honorable City Council, I hereby appoint, subject to your review and recommendation, Mr. Scott Freeman, 3 Oceanside Drive, and Ms. Lauren DeMarco, 32 Pierce Ave, to serve on the Beverly Harbor Management Authority. Their terms are to be until December 31st, 2026. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Please refer that to the Committee on Public Services.
Order number 83, dear Honorable City Council, I hereby appoint, subject to review and recommendation, the following to serve on the Stormwater Management Advisory Committee: the City of Beverly representatives, Lisa Chandler, the City Engineer, Engineering Department; Michael P. Collins, Commissioner of Public Services and Engineering; James Butler, Building Commissioner, Municipal Inspections; David Spitalier, Conservation Agent; Kenneth Clausen, Assistant Planning Director; Bruce Doig, Director of Parks and Recreation and Community Services. For Citizen Representative, Natalie Parmasham, 50 Boyle Street, Beverly, and their terms are to be effective until March 25th, 2027. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Please refer that to the Committee on Public Services.
Order number 84, dear Honorable City Council, I hereby appoint, subject to your review and recommendation, Ms. Diantha Lothon.
Podazon.
Thank you. 99 Corning Street, number 2, to serve on the Economic and Community Development Council. Her term is to be effective until December 31st, 2025. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Please refer that to the Committee on Public Services.
Order number 85, dear Honorable City Council, I hereby reappoint, subject to your review and recommendation, Mr. Jonathan Cassidy, 12 Michael Row, Beverly, to serve as constable in the City of Beverly for the express purpose of serving civil process. Attached is Mr. Cassidy's application, which has been provided and approved by, which has been approved by Police Chief John Lalatcher. Mr. Cassidy's term will be effective until March 22nd, 2027. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs. Let's go to communications from other city officers and boards, please, Ms. Kent.
Order number 86 from Barbara Wells, the Retirement Administrator, a notice of a meeting of the annual consideration and vote for the COLA for retirement members and survivors of the Beverly Retirement System.
I would entertain a motion to receive that and place it on file.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That carries 9-0.
Order number 87 from Councilor Spang, a proposed amendment to Ordinance 270-49 for a handicap parking spot on Broadway.
Thank you. Councilor Spang, is there anything you'd like to say about that at this point? All right. Thank you for your work on that. We'll refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs.
Order number 88, a notice of availability for the former various.
We have to go to communications, applications, and petitions.
That's right.
Now.
Okay, order 88. I was on a roll.
You were going right along.
Notice of availability, former Varian Facility Site, 150 Sawyer Road, public comment, draft temporary solution statement in Phase 6 of status report.
I would entertain a motion to receive that and place it on file.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That carries 9-0.
Order number 89 from Steve Barth, the town manager in Danvers, a letter to confirm the intent of Danvers to waive payment of the in lieu of tax fee for fiscal year 2024 in conjunction with the operation of the Beverly Public Airport.
I would entertain a motion.
Beverly Municipal Airport.
Sorry. Sorry. I would entertain a motion to receive that and place on file as well.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That carries 9-0.
Order number 90, Department of Public Utilities, notice of filing public hearing and request for comment.
I would entertain a motion to receive that and place it on file.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That carries 9-0. We have some unfinished business from a previous meeting, which will remain unfinished business. Counselors will remember, but just so that those who are watching or following with us can know what we're looking at. This is a report that came out of Legal Affairs Subcommittee's work in the last term and then was refiled this term so we could conclude this work. These are some changes, amendments, and proposed additions or omissions from our city ordinances. There's a lengthy list of which chapters for those who are interested, but we will schedule a time with our city solicitor's office when we'll have a time for the full council to hear more in depth on that, and we'll be able to move that forward. But our thanks to the Legal Affairs Subcommittee of the last term and this, and to our solicitor's office for helping us to get this to a point where we'll be able to talk more fully about that. I would entertain a motion to take just a 2-minute recess, which will give folks a chance to sign up for public hearings if they are here for those, and we'll get set for those which will pick up at 7:30.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll take a 2-minute recess, and we'll be back. Following that brief recess, as I mentioned, we're going now to a series of public hearings. The first is posted for 7:30 p.m. The first set of public hearings all have to do with some National Grid business, each one, and then there will be one on a request for a budget transfer from the mayor's administration. And so we'll take those in order. If there are speakers here to speak on these topics of these public hearings, you can sign up for them here on the desk in front of us. Ms. Kent, let's go to our 7:30 hearing on Order 47.
Does anybody hear, do you hear that noise? Order number 47, order that the City Council of the City of Beverly hold a public hearing on Monday, March 11th, 2024, at 7:30 PM at 191 Cabot Street, 3rd floor, council chambers, relative to National Grid petition 302-94623 to install beginning at a point approximately 18 feet west of the center line on the intersection of Rantoul Street and Lenox Street, and continuing approximately 310 feet to east direction, install 259 feet of 4-5-inch conduit from MH70 to MH935, install 49 foot of 2-5-inch conduit from MH935 to P3647, install new two-way manhole 935 on Lenox Street. And this was in the newspaper March 1st.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. I see that Savita, our National Grid rep, is here. I'll invite you to the podium, and if there's information that you would like to provide or updates for the council on this order, we'll start with you. Thank you.
Sabita Mahabushi, representing National Grid, 44 River Street, Beverly, Massachusetts. Since we have quite a few of these, could you repeat that work request number?
The petition number is 302-94623, Rantoul and Lenox Streets.
Okay. This is for a new underground getaway to facilitate upgrading of a feeder at this location.
To facilitate that upgrade, could you just repeat the last part? Sorry.
To facilitate upgrading a feeder at that
The
location.
feeder at that location. Thank you. Could you just help us, for those of us who aren't as familiar, what a feeder is?
It's the primary, Beverly is fed by multiple feeders. This is one of them coming out off of this location.
Thank you. Councilors, are there questions on this particular petition? Councilor Bowen.
Thank you. There we go. Thank you. I was just wondering about the length of time for the work and traffic management plans, particularly with other National Grid work, closing the crossing at Rantoul down further at Broadway at times, and just thinking about the traffic impacts at both ends of the street.
This is a separate work from the other one. After this passes, it would go to scheduling, and usually we schedule 6 weeks out, so nothing would start before that.
If I may.
Please.
Thank you. And the duration of the project is also something to keep in mind if it's like an afternoon and it's done, or it's a traffic impact for longer.
It may be longer, because they'd have to put in the conduit, tie everything in, and then they'd have to pull the cable.
And I guess, final question, are we anticipating Rantoul Street or Lenox would be closed for portions of that work, or that it's a small enough footprint for traffic to be impacted but not halted?
There should be traffic management to get around that.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Spang.
Just one question, and sorry, I don't already know this, but is this the type of work where electric service is still going to happen to everybody who would normally be on that feeder? So people should not expect to have a power outage because of this work?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Spang. Are there other questions or comments from members of the council on this National Grid petition? Were there members of the public who wish to speak in the public hearing on this National Grid petition? Again, this is Order 47 for electric conduits on Rantoul and Lenox Streets. I do hear that too, so. Seeing none, I'll close this public hearing and we'll refer that back to the Committee on Public Services for further action this evening. We do have hearings originally posted for 7:40 and 7:45. The 7:40 hearing has been withdrawn by National Grid.
Correct.
Is it my understanding that the 7:45 hearing is also being withdrawn? that may not be correct. I'm clarifying with you.
72, you're going to have to give me the work request numbers on those.
So the 740 hearing was on was petition number 306-65817, and this is the one that we have listed as withdrawn, if that's correct.
Yes.
The 745 hearing is scheduled to be on petition number 308-67397.
That too is withdrawn.
That is withdrawn. So with that, then, thank you. We do have a 750 public hearing that is posted with the National Grid petition as well. Given that we have a pocket of time here, and these two public hearings, the one listed for 740 and 745 are withdrawn at this time by National Grid, I would entertain a motion to take a brief break for some committee work, counselors, and we'll be sure to be back for the 750 hearing, and then continue subcommittee work after as needed. Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. We'll take a brief break for committee work. We'll be back by 7:50 for that next hearing.
Call to order the Committee on Finance and Property. Councilors, I think we'll take up first Order 075, which is an order we received tonight. It's a transfer from previously authorized capital fund, a project fund for a new harbor master vehicle. It's a $30,000 transfer. And what we need to do tonight is set the public hearing for April 1st at 7:30 p.m. I would entertain a motion to do that.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Public hearing is set. The second order for tonight is Order 76. This is a grant we received tonight for $1,300 from the Project Drug Stewardship Program from the state to be used for costs surrounding the management and disposal of unwanted household generated opioids at the Beverly Police Station. I would entertain a motion that we approve this.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved 3-0. The other three that we referred tonight, 077, 078, and 079, these are all earmarks related to the Beverly Public Library. So I think my intent would be to hold these tonight until we have further discussion on the library, which is an ongoing conversation. I don't think we need to take those up, so I guess that's all we have for tonight. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn the Committee on Finance and Property.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Maybe he's not done. They'll have to break again. Yes. All right, so you're ready for order 50? You're ready for order 50, Ms. Kent? You're ready for order 50? That's the next one. Thank you very much. Subcommittees are back. Thank you, everybody, for being back so we can pick up with our posted 7:50 hearing. This is a public hearing that's posted on order number 50, a National Grid petition. Ms. Kent.
Order number 50, City of Beverly ordered that the City Council of the City of Beverly hold a public hearing on Monday, March 11th, 2024 at 7:50 PM at 191 Cabot Street, third floor, Council Chambers, relative to National Grid petition 293-61213 to install one JO pole on Balt Street, beginning at a point approximately 289 feet east of the center line of the intersection of New Balch and Bosworth Street, install new pole 809-50 on Balt Street. And this was in the newspaper on March 1st, 2024.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. Savita Mahabir, I'll invite you back to the podium, our National Grid rep. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the council about this National Grid petition? This is 293-61213. Councilors, are there questions or Councilor Houseman?
Jointly owned. So you have Verizon, Comcast, so forth on it? Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there other questions or comments? Councilor Crowley?
There we go. Thank you. Is this a replacement pole, or is it in addition to what's already there?
It's in addition to what's already there because this is for a monitoring station.
Got you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there other questions or comments from the council? Councilor Bowen.
Thank you. It was a similar question, but maybe just a slightly different angle. From the map, it looked like there are already two poles in front of the same lot, and this would add a third. So just a confirmation that all three of them played different roles and are all needed?
Yes.
Spot.
Yeah, one is a junction pole along Bosworth, sorry. And the other one is a continual pole, multiple services off it. This one is, it's going to be in front of the flag on the right-hand side of their property. They have two flag poles there, so.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there other questions or comments from members of the council on this National Grid petition? Are there members of the public who wish to speak in the public hearing on Council Order Number 50, National Grid Petition 293-61213, 1JO pole on Balt Street? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing and refer it back to the Committee on Public Services for further action this evening. And that brings us right to our 7:55 public hearing on Order Number 51. Ms. Kent.
Order number 51, the City of Beverly ordered that the City Council of the City of Beverly hold a public hearing on Monday, March 11th, 2024 at 7:55 PM at 191 Cabot Street, third floor, Council Chambers, relative to National Grid petition 30294-624 to relocate one JO pole on Lenox Street, beginning at a point approximately 270 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Cabot Street and Lenox Street, relocating pole 3647 and to lay and maintain underground lateral cables and wires on Lenox Street. This was in the newspaper on March 1st, 2024.
Thank you, Ms. Kent. Again, I'll go back to Savita Mahabir. Anything that you'd like to add or tell the council about this petition 302-94624, 1JO pole on Lenox Street?
This is to move the pole so that there isn't an aerial trespass to the neighbor's property.
Thank you. Counselors, are there questions or comments on this petition? Are there members of the public who wish to speak in the public hearing on this petition? Seeing none, I'll close this public hearing and refer that also back to the Committee on Public Services for further action this evening. Thank you very much, Ms. Mahabir, for being here with us this evening. We have a few minutes before our 8 p.m. posted public hearing, so I'd entertain a motion just to take a 4-minute recess.
So moved.
All those in favor? Thank you. Take a 4-minute recess and resume it. Thank you, everyone. Call the council back to order following that brief recess to pick up with our 8 p.m. posted public hearing. This one is on council order number 72. Ms. Kent.
Order number 72, City of Beverly, ordered that the City Council of the City of Beverly hold a public hearing on Monday, March 11th, 2024, at 8 p.m. at 191 Cabot Street, 3rd floor, Council Chambers, relative to a request for a transfer for $500,000 from the Police Station Construction Capital Project Fund into the Fire Department Capital Fund to pay for repair costs associated with the city's backup ladder truck. And this was in the newspaper on Monday, March 1st, 2024.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. We have our City Finance Director, Mr. Brian Ailes, is here with us. Thank you very much, Mr. Ailes. And our Fire Chief, Chief O'Connor, is here with us. Chief, thank you for being here. Sorry that you're here with your arm in a sling. We're glad to have you, as always. Mr. Ailes, I see you're at the podium and ready to kick things off, so we'll go to you.
Sure. We're both here this evening to talk about the work that we're hoping to get done with an approval of this order this evening. However, typically, this time of year, you would see before you requests for transfer from free cash or other areas to fund projects of this type or needs or repair needs of this type, a $500,000 transfer. We undertook over the last few months a bit of house cleaning or housekeeping, if you will, in the finance department, and we've looked at all of our fund balances. And so for the next probably few months, you'll see a few of these come before you to fund capital projects. The mechanism itself is similar to a transfer from free cash, only it's a transfer from existing balances in previously approved and appropriated project funds. In this case, it's coming from what is left over from the police station construction project. That $29 million project was completed a couple of years ago. And the owner's contingency, which is basically a contingency fund within the project, was underspent. And so we're seeking to pull that money back into the general fund pool to address some needs. The one before you this evening is the fire truck, which Chief O'Connor is here to discuss in more detail if needed. Happy to answer any questions about the mechanics or the finances. I just want to point out as well that your budget analyst, Mr. Perry, also issued a memo in this regard, and we had been working together over the last couple months to identify a series of these funds that would become available to support other additional capital projects in the city. So, thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ailes. Chief O'Connor, thanks for being here.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, Council President. I can answer any questions you have, but the basics, what happened was every year these trucks go out for an annual inspection, either a pump inspection, in this case an aerial inspection. Last year I got word that this truck, our reserve truck, failed its aerial inspection. It's usually something small. Unfortunately, as they dug this year, it was obviously a more significant failure, one that forced us to put this truck completely out of service. This is a truck that I was very surprised to get this information. Our mechanics do fantastic work, had nothing to do with any of that. But I was surprised because this truck was supposed to last us for 25 years. This is not an old truck. This is, if you look at the truck from the outside, it looks great. Unfortunately, underneath is where we have the big issue. Frame rails, torque box, the two main or three of the main structural components of this truck are gone. We can't use it. So this money is going to be used to send that the truck back to its manufacturer. They'll break it down to its smallest pieces, pretty much. Send it back with brand new frame rails, brand new torque box. They'll do all the hydraulic work over, all kinds of stuff. The drivetrain will be done over. All of the outriggers, everything that makes that truck, fire truck, will be basically rebuilt. Still come back with the same motor, same transmission. It'll get work. That stuff will get worked on while it's out there. But the structural portions of the truck are going to be completely replaced along with a lot of other major components. So it is a significant undertaking. I'm not going to lie, when I first looked at this, I shook my head at it. But as we looked at the options that were out there, this was the best option for us. So.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Very welcome.
Councilors, are there questions? Councilor St. Hilaire.
Thank you, Madam President. It's for Mr. Ailes. Just curious if there's additional money left over in the police station capital fund. And yeah, I guess start with that.
Yeah, sure. Good question. The police station capital project underspent its budget within the owner's contingency by about $693,000 of the $29 million project. So what we intend to do is transfer this $500,000 out. That leaves $193 remaining in the fund. We'll be leaving $100,000 in that fund because there are still a couple components that are technological based that they're intending to rectify with the community room and some of the dispatch stuff. And then the remaining 93 we will transfer out at a later date for a separate capital project to be determined.
And yeah, I guess just to follow up, what is the process for identifying what projects to use this for, and can it be used for anything at all?
Yeah, because it is free cash, keep in mind, when we funded this project initially, the city did, it was a combination of free cash, so basically cash paid into the project, over a 3-year period totaling $5 million. And so that at that time was free cash that was transferred into this project fund to begin some of the design work and to also buy down the debt that the city ultimately borrowed for. In instances where free cash is transferred in, the administration and the city council can at any point repurpose those funds for anything it deems fit. In the event that a capital project is funded entirely with debt, there are certain restrictions if there is excess debt available on what you can and can't use that on. But this is not that case. This is a free cash, or I should say a cash transfer between funds.
Yeah, and I would just say I totally support the use of the money for the truck. I just wanted to understand what was left and how that works.
No restrictions on it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Counselor. Counselor Houseman.
Yes.
Oh, Counselor Houseman, will you unmute yourself?
Yes, this is a question for the chief. And good evening.
Good evening, Council.
I know that the fire department goes to great lengths to keep their, all the vehicles spick and span and washed down and so forth. Is this damage a result of a manufactured defect or just salt corrosion? I mean, it seems unusual, as you said, it would surprise you. So I'm curious about an assessment of what caused this degree of deterioration.
Yeah. So we've been going through and talking with some of my friends my chief friends that go through some similar issues and buying, one of the things is buying older trucks if you can. There's a series of basically years where the steel was not quite what it could have been. So we're seeing a lot of defects within those years where the trucks just aren't lasting like they should have. That's the big rub.
And through you, Madam President, so is there any warranty on this, or,
So unfortunately, the question has been asked. The frame rails have what they call a 50-year warranty, but that warranty is on damage, not corrosion. I think corrosion is not covered.
And the expectation is that the new steel will...
Yeah, we've actually talked about doing, instead of just the regular coating, galvanized frame rails and supports on the new truck as we get that. There's a little bit of an additional cost with that, but we're expecting to get another 12 years out of this truck anyway with the new frame rails. And, I will say that part of what we have changed internally is the way that we care for the underside of our trucks is different than it was. Free to definitely say that, but it's more than just that caused this issue.
And do the trucks, through the chair, do the trucks get, like if I go through the car wash, I believe at least, there's sprays up underneath to clear the underside. Do the fire trucks get?
The two newest trucks actually came with a device that we can hook up and we roll it underneath the truck to wash the undercarriage, Coupled with that, Chuck and Frank, the two folks that do our maintenance from Motorpool, are phenomenal, and we'll call them the rust wizards. They have a whole process for undercoating the big trucks and the smaller vehicles that we use now too. So like I said, we've changed a lot of processes over the last years, but this is more than just that.
Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor. And now I think we know you pay for more than just the standard wash, Counselor Husband. You're getting the fancy undercarriage one. Counselor Rotundo. Are you unmuted?
I get it.
For those watching,
I get it, you don't want.
Counselor Rotundo's microphone is broken and he cannot unmute himself. That's what's happening. So, Ms. Kent.
Yeah, she has the power to shut me off. And I think Mr. Ailes may be in collusion with her on that. Mr. Ailes, I have a question for you in regards to this fund transfer. I have received several phone calls, and thank you for the explanation of the mechanics of how it works and the free cash. The question I have is specifically to the police station. When this project was being built, I know a couple of things were negated off it. I know the firing range is still on the capital improvement as something to be done possibly in the future. I also know that the weight room was also negated out of the project. With that being said, is there a reason why these things were never put back into the project? I know the firing range was a lot more money than the $693,000, but I would have to assume the weightlifting room was not that much money. And I also have heard from more recently that there's been some maybe, and I don't know how factual it is, and I'm hoping to look further into, but at least bring it to your attention that although it's a new station and a lot of new equipment's been purchased, it seems as if some hand-me-downs are coming their way, so I just also want to just kind of get a clarification on that. And I don't know if you have that answer right now, so just for that whole weightlifting room, and I understand what the cost of the firing range being at that time was $1.5 million.
Yeah. So there's a few things in there. As with any capital project that we undertake within the city, it starts with a needs assessment, right? And the hired, in this case, design team, Castle Booth, meet with the departments that are affected, the leadership team, understand what the budget is, and at times, you're right, they do have to make decisions about aspects of what may be desired in a new facility fit into a budget. We're doing it now with the three big capital projects that we're all talking about, City Hall, McPherson, the library. That's part of the process. So I don't really recall if and when the decisions were made about the weight room specifically, but I do know that the final project that was presented and funded and asked for funding from the city council was funded, and that was the $29 million budget. Sure, there are contingencies that are included within that budget, like the owner's contingency that I'm talking about that went underspent. And those funds certainly can come back to the city. As for the firing range, as you alluded to, at the time, we know in the long term, there's going to be a need within the city to maintain its own existing firing range. Right now, the range is up at the airport. If you're familiar with it, it's on right before the FEMA site. Before you get to the airport, if you take a right down that long road, there's a firing range in there that the police utilize. That is under lease agreement right now with the airport, so we lease that property. There is within the lease, I believe, language that allows them to seek alternative uses of that property, and if that were to become the case and we were notified, we would look at that point to begin to fund or determine an appropriate space and funding mechanism for a firing range. I believe it is still contained within the capital plan as a need that the city has, but we don't see it as an immediate need at this very point right here, because we feel the needs of the department are currently being met through the outdoor range up at the airport. And this obviously being an immediate need, it seems like an appropriate source of funds to make the transfer.
Thank you, Mr. Ailes. You may mute me now.
Counselor Sweeney, did I see your hand?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. These are just a few quick comments. Being cognizant of the point Councilor Rotundo made, I don't want us to skimp on projects per se, but I do want to say that I appreciate the approach that the administration is proposing here in reallocating free cash that had been authorized toward other projects, but ultimately was not spent. I'm looking to that source of unspent capital project funds to fund projects like the truck replacement before us in advance of new free cash allocations. I think it's important that we take advantage of the money we've already appropriated if it's not going to go toward a specific project that's already been completed, so that we can preserve our free cash funds for other projects and just for the city's financial stability. So I appreciate the approach that's being laid out before us tonight. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Bowen.
Thank you. And my question is probably a combination to both Mr. Ailes and the chief. So also support this general strategy, excited to see how we can also expand on just sort of our awareness of the status of capital project funds as they are initiated, get spent down, get closed out. So one comment first, just would love to see that in the capital expenditure report going forward, if it's possible to do. Where we have the debt schedule is a really helpful way of seeing at least where money is and is going and is coming from in our debt position, but knowing that there are, some active project funds still out there, and as new ones come on board, sort of seeing how they layer in, it would be helpful for me and I think across our decision making. But the question is just on sort of what else we have in really truck capital expenditures coming up. So just wanted to confirm we had a $850,000 expected expenditure on a pumper truck this fiscal year or next, and then don't have a next ladder truck programmed until 2031 for like 1.4 million. Is that the general game plan, or any updates?
Yeah, we're trying to get into a schedule where we're not ending up having to buy two pieces at the same time. The price of trucks has gone up incredibly. The truck that we bought last year or 2 years ago was for $700 and something thousand, is now $850,000. That truck is on order. It is making its way to the assembly line. We're still in the period where that process of the build times have not yet caught up, so they're still pretty slow, so it'll be a while before we see that truck. But the way that works, we have to have the funds allotted before we can they'll actually sell us a truck. So that is on the way. The next truck, and that's again why we're looking at this expenditure. If it was as simple as saying we just have to buy a new ladder truck, but that truck today probably costs about $1.8 million. So when we look 15 years down the road, when we actually are going to buy that new truck, I don't even want to venture to guess what that truck is going to cost at that point in time. And I hope that answers your question. So, but the next couple vehicles that we buy for the big apparatus should be engines, pumpers. So.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions or comments from members of the council? Are there members of the public who wish to speak? If you would, again, just begin with your name and address for the record.
Now as before, my name is Paul Hansen, Paul Hansen Matev, and I reside at 25 Vine Street. I do have a question of the chief and the financial expert. Sorry.
And Mr. Hansen-Matev, you can direct your questions to me. I know it seems a strange mechanism, and then I'll reflect it back, and then helps BevCam followers.
So the question I want to ask through Council President Flowers has to do with how both of these individuals, the chief and the financial, I'm sorry if I'm not giving his title correctly, please, I apologize, about how they make determinations on everything from amortization to when it would be appropriate, for instance, for a fire truck to be donated to a foreign country. And I forgot to mention one thing in regard to this concern about the possibility of donation of fire equipment, but at this time it is possible that this city council is being viewed by an employee of the New York Times, and I have reached out in correspondence to the New England editor of the Times, so I just ask if any member from council is contacted that they go on the record regarding donations of fire equipment or any other matters that might have been discussed this evening. So out of fairness, I just wanted to make sure that council was aware that that's occurring at this time. And I look forward to the answer regarding the charitable efforts of Beverly regarding concerns with other parts of the world and making sure there's appropriate fire suppression and the like. Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much. Chief and Mr. Ailes, I'll reflect the question back as best I can. The question was, how is determination made on how, when it makes sense to, I would say, I'll insert this just knowing the process that it took, but declare a vehicle surplus or a piece of city property surplus, which I think is a first step, and then how and when things might be donated or made useful in the next part of their life.
So maybe I can start and you can help me with some of the useful lives of the equipment. But the chief and I, along with other members of the administration, meet fairly regularly, just ad hoc check-ins, but in more structured around the capital expenditure plan and planning for some of these larger investments that the city undertakes. We know the inventory that's required of the department, as outlined by the chief and his staff, and we know the useful life expectancy of most of the equipment. We have frontline vehicles and we have reserve vehicles. So based on the chief's recommendation, we structure that model to best meet that need and then layer it into a long-term capital / expenditure plan, which in our case looks out 10 years, but it is subject to change the further out you go in that time frame. So this, as you're all aware, we've known about it for a few months, maybe close to a half year, that it was becoming an issue, but we had never really intended initially to program this $500,000 expenditure into our capital spending. But we just felt, given the options that were before us and the city, that this was the most most appropriate use of the funds, given the potential of, what would you say, a $1.5 million replacement vehicle, and that this is a backup vehicle that we're doing this work on.
And kind of to build on that a little bit, the trucks are built to a standard, an NFPA standard. We have to take them at that built standard. The further you get out from that standard, right, the standards are updated typically every 4 years. The further you get away from that, so as my truck gets to be 20 or 25 years old, it no longer meets what would then be the current standard. And then in those cases, it becomes very expensive, not just replacing frame rails and stuff like that, to bring that entire vehicle back to a modern code. We're talking about vehicles that should last 20 to 25 years. In this case, we're well short of that. So in the case of, I think, Engine 6 was an older truck that was really no longer serviceable to the city of Beverly. Didn't meet the NFPA requirements anymore. It would have taken a lot of money, and like similar to this case, and it would have taken a lot of money to build it back up. But if we'd put that out to surplus and put it out to auction or something, we've got a very short money. So in this particular case, we had the opportunity to send it overseas at no cost to us as a donation. It would not make the same sense to do that with this truck. Engine 6, we had already had a plan in place for replacement. This truck, we don't have a plan in place to replace, like we said, for another 12, 15 years. So in this particular case, it is more beneficial for us to make the investment into this so that we're not stuck. We have a backup truck right now that's on loan to us from Boston, but while we own that truck, we have to maintain that truck. And we are putting a lot of money into that truck to keep it on the road, so that we can have a ladder in the city. So for this purpose, this is absolutely the way to go for us, is to get this vehicle repaired. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak in this public hearing? Seeing none. At this time, I will close that public hearing. Thank you very much, Chief O'Connor. Thank you, Mr. Ailes. Thank you to members of the public who are joining us on BevCam, joining us here in the council chambers. This public hearing is now referred back to the Subcommittee on Finance and Property for further action this evening. And I would entertain a motion to take a break for committee work that we did not complete before. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries 9-0. This time, please, we'll have legal affairs stay here on BevCam, finance and property in the committee room, and public services back on the bench. Thank you.
I don't even have to push it. Okay, all right. Good man. Call to order Committee on Legal Affairs at 8:29 PM. I'm actually going to start with order number 70, which is a matter involving Anchor Point and a deed. Try to find, here it is. I believe we have assistance to the solicitor here and someone from Anchor Point as well, correct? Mr. Dole? Mr. Dole?
I think there might be someone here that might be able to explain this a little bit.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Your name for the record?
Yeah, so my name is Andrew Leonard. I'm a project manager with Harbor Light.
And your address for the record?
Oh, sure, it's 6 Hobart Avenue, Beverly.
Thank you.
So what we're requesting here is for the city to accept conveyance of a small piece of land at our Anchor Point property, which is right at the intersection of Sawyer and Tozier Road. So in between the high school and the Whole Foods there. So if you'll recall, back when this site was zoned, it's under 40R zoning, one of the pieces that was involved with this was the commitment for Harbor Light to work with the city to make some intersection improvements at Sawyer and Tozier Road. So since then, you've probably noticed there's a nice sidewalk that goes down. There's a clearer pedestrian aisle between kind of the tip of Sawyer and Tozier there down toward the high school. And so part of that agreement was that a kind of sort of crescent moon-shaped piece of land there, about 3,000 square feet, a little bit less, was to be conveyed from Anchor Point LLC to the city. So now Miranda Samaska with Glovsky & Glovsky has worked with the solicitor's office to put together a deed for conveyance of that small piece of land. It's kind of just tidying up work that was already done.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the subcommittee members? Any questions?
I think so.
Well,
I don't. I actually had the opportunity to talk to Ms. Samasco about this situation just before the meeting, so I'm comfortable with it. Thank you.
Yeah. I just have a quick question for Mr. Dole. Ms. Samasco's letter says the deed has been approved as to form by the city solicitor's office. Has someone approved it as to, content, substance?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right.
There was a little back and forth between myself and Attorney Samansko about some of the details of it, so. I'm
Okay,
comfortable with it.
all right, fine. If there are no questions from the subcommittee, I would entertain a motion to approve order number 70.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll pick up order number 44 from our agenda. This is appointment of Christopher Rivera to serve as a constable. As I recall, there was a inconsistency issue on this application. Is that correct? Am I remembering correctly?
I don't recall
Was this
on
the-
this
was this
one.
the
It was
one?
the BAT application
Oh,
that was
that was the
delivery
one?
form, which was on the other order that we had, but this one I don't recall. There was one, I think it just was timing that we weren't able to address it.
Yeah, okay. So this was February 5th, so certainly enough time has elapsed. It's been signed off on by the chief, and the paperwork, I guess, is in order. So unless there are any questions about it, I would entertain a motion to approve order number 44.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Order number 60, let's go over this. Oh, we've already done order number 59. Order number 62, this is reappointments of Darlene Nguyen and Deanna Morton to serve in the Parking and Traffic Commission. I believe all of us on the subcommittee are familiar with them, and unless there are any questions, I would entertain a motion to approve order number 62 for these reappointments.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. That takes us to order number 64, the Bat Enterprises application. So this is the one that had the inconsistency.
Can we hold this order until we get further information?
Still waiting?
There is. I know Christine Dixon, our assistant clerk, has reached out to them. From my understanding, from what Ms. Dixon has said, is that the original address was their home address. The other address was their prior address that their business was at. Now it's at the Cummings Center. She has asked if they have updated their RMV form and hasn't heard back, so
Waiting.
we're waiting to hear back, so if we could at least hold this till next
Yep,
week.
this order is, order number 64 is held. That takes us to order number 65. This is a new livery application for Alba Boston Limo. And this was filed on the 20th. There are no time frame issues on this, as I understand, is that correct?
No.
Yeah. So is anyone, subcommittee, have you had a chance to read? Do you have any questions about anything in this application?
I do not.
I do not either.
Okay, fine. Neither do I, so I would entertain a motion to approve order number 65.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0. So just to reiterate, so the planning director, Darlene Nguyen, will be in next week. And at that time, will talk with us about orders number 67 to 68. She'll make a presentation to the full council, and then we will pick up the sidewalk signs and the rideshare matters in subcommittee at that point. So those two items are held this week. We've already done with order number 70, and I believe, let's see if we, I think that may be, we've got two that came up tonight, but these are, I believe, from the mayor, so we can't act on them, correct?
Yep. One needs to be in the newspaper.
Historic, pardon?
The handicapped spot that needs to be going in the newspaper,
Right.
and then an appointment.
Right, Historic District Commission and Service of Process. I'm a little rusty on the constables. They also have to be.
Wait the 7 days.
7 days. So we are done with our business for this evening. I would entertain a motion to adjourn Committee on Legal Affairs.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 8:37 PM.
You're good? Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks to our subcommittees and those who are here for our subcommittee meetings for remaining with us throughout the evening. We'll go now to reports from committees. Ms. Kent.
The Committee on Finance, order number 72, the Committee on Finance and Property, to whom referred the matter regarding a request for a transfer for $500,000 from the Police Station Construction Capital Project Fund into the Fire Department Capital Fund to pay for repair costs associated with the city's backup ladder truck, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve this request.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. Thank you. That carries 9-0.
Order number 75, the Committee on Finance and Property, to whom referred the matter regarding a transfer of $30,000 from a previously authorized capital project fund to be placed into a new fund for the purchase of a harbor master vehicle, have considered said matter and begged leave to follow. Set a public hearing on April 1st at 7:30 p.m.
Questions or comments? I would entertain a motion to set that public hearing as recommended, April 1st, 7:30 p.m. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries 9-0, so we'll have that public hearing at our April 1st meeting, 7:30 p.m. That's not a joke, April 1st meeting, and it really is happening.
Order number 76, the Committee on Finance and Property, to whom referred the matter regarding a $1,300 grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts MED Project Drug Stewardship Program to be used for costs surrounding the management and disposal of unwanted household generated opiates in the medical collection receptacle in the Beverly Police Station lobby, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve this request.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries 9-0.
Order number 44, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding an appointment for Christian Rivera to serve as constable in the city of Beverly, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve this appointment.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. Thank you. Carries 9-0.
Order number 59, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding appointments for Jonathan Salt, Jennifer Plowden, Jarrett Porter to serve on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve these appointments.
Questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. That carries 9-0.
Order number 62, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding reappointments for Dana Morton and Darlene Nguyen to serve on the Parking and Traffic Commission, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve these reappointments.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. That carries 9-0.
Order number 65, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding a new livery license application for Alva Boston Limo LLC located at 283 Cabot Street, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the license be granted.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. That carries 9-0.
Order number 70, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding a Anchor Point Project 106 to 108 Sawyer Road, a request for a quitclaim deed conveying a parcel of land at the intersection of Sawyer and Tozer Roads, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve this request.
Questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. Thank you. Carries 9-0.
Order number 47, the Committee on Public Services, to whom refer the matter regarding National Grid Petition 302-94623 to install electric conduits on Rantoul Lennox Street and new two-way manhole 935 on Lennox Street, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the petition be granted.
Questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. That carries 9-0.
Order number 50, the Committee on Public Services, to whom refer the matter regarding petition 293-61213 to install one JO pole on Bald Street, have considered matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the petition be granted.
Questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and the adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. That carries 9-0.
Order number 51, the Committee on Public Services, to whom refer the matter regarding a petition of 302-94624 to install one JO pole on Lennox Street, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the petition be granted.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. Carries 9-0.
Order number 60, the Committee on Public Services, to whom refer the matter regarding reappointments, Charles Real, Susan Moran, Paul Lance, and Corey Paulette to serve on the Veterans Advisory Council, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve these reappointments.
Questions or comments? The question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. Thank you. That carries 9-0.
Order number 61, the Committee on Public Services, to whom was referred the matter regarding reappointment of Robert Pierce to serve on the Registers of Voters as a representative of the City Democratic Committee, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve the reappointment.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. Carries 9-0.
I have a comment about Robert Pierce. He's wonderful on our Register of Voters, as Mike Murphy is, and we look forward to getting a third to join them.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kent, and thank you to, actually, we've gone through many appointments and reappointments tonight, and I should have said thank you to all those who've been appointing and reappointing for their willingness to serve, including those.
Yep,
on our
they worked
Register of
very hard
Voters.
on Tuesday for us. Order number 71, the Committee on Public Services, to whom referred the matter regarding a reappointment for Mr. John Swain, 60 Rantoul Street, to serve on the Waste Reduction Committee, and an appointment for Ben Hacker from 23 Justin Street, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve this appointment and reappointment.
Questions or comments on this one? The question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. Thank you. 9-0.
Order number 74, the Committee on Public Services, to whom refer the matter regarding Councilor Bowen and President Flowers, a letter to the council regarding local impacts of the crisis in Gaza and Israel, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council receive and place on file.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal as received from Public Services to receive and place on file. All those in favor? That carries 9-0.
And that is all I have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. Well, I will say by way of some reminders or announcements, first of all, Ms. Kent just alluded to it, but a thanks to our city clerk's office, our assistant city clerk and our clerk and their team for their hard work preparing for and leading up to our elections that just occurred. And so thank you to everybody who put in work and time to make sure that that could happen. People could come and have access to that important right that we enjoy. Are there other announcements or reminders from members of the council? I was gonna say, I feel like there's breaking news from wards 1 and 2.
Not breaking news, but there will be a public hearing by MassDOT on Thursday night at 6:30 in the Beverly Middle School auditorium. And I had people reach out and ask what door they should enter, so I don't know. Main entrance. Main entrance, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Spang and Councilor Rotundo. And if folks are not as familiar with the Beverly Middle School, that main entrance is the Cabot Street side entrance. You want to go to the Cabot Street entrance. We do have our next regular meeting set for next week, March 18th. We will have, among other things, the continuation of the public hearing on the proposed HVAC upgrades at the Beverly Public Library main branch, and that will be picking up at 8 p.m. However, the meeting itself begins at 7 p.m. And so if folks have been following that process, that's next week on the 18th of March. And then, as heard tonight, we do also have a public hearing we just set for our regular meeting on April 1st. Councilor Spang.
One more. On Friday at noon, there's a in-person public information session on the municipal aggregate electric program, which is, if you got the postcard in the mail and you have some questions, you can go in person to the Council on Aging. There will also be an in-person one in the evening if you work during the day and can't make it on Friday.
Thank you very much, Councilor Spang. Any other reminders or announcements from members of the council? With that then, with my and our, thanks to Kim in the BevCam booth. Thanks to all the members of the public who were here this evening with us, both for our public services meeting that happened before and for our regular meeting, all those who joined us on BevCam, and all members of our city staff who were here with us for public hearings this evening. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries 9-0, and we are adjourned. Have a good night.